Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is.
JG name for everyone. That's better. So, firstly, thank you so much for sharing Valentine's evening with me. Really appreciate that. And also, I really appreciate the opportunity to share some information on happier relationships. So, hopefully, by the end of today, we'll have learned a little bit more or be able to be reminded of some ideas and put them into action to have happy relationships. So, my first question to you is, using a scale of 0 to 10, but not using the number 7, right now, at this moment, for yourself, just think where you are on your scale for you, from 0 to 10. And just take a moment to consider where you are on your scale of happiness, 0 to 10. Just take a stock check for that. Brilliant. So, if you feel comfortable sharing, just raise your hands and ask questions. Anyone 5 or less? 6? 7? Trick question, 7's not allowed. That's good. 8? Fantastic. 9? Excellent. 10. Wonderful. Brilliant. Thank you. So, the purpose of this session is share why having happy relationships are important, the key ingredients for happier relationships, tools and ways to enhance relationships, and share some science behind it. So, your first action is, think of a current great relationship that you have, a friendship or a relationship that you currently have, and think about who that's with and why that's great, and list at least 3 things. If you've got pen and paper, you can write it down. If you've got a phone, you can make a note of that. Or mentally, just think about who that relationship is with and why it's great. At least 3 things. And keep those in mind, and we'll come back to that a bit later. Everyone had a chance to consider? Yeah? Brilliant. So, I'd like you to get into pairs in a moment and work with someone you don't know. So, not necessarily working with the person sitting next to you, but work with someone else. And answer these 3 questions over 3-4 minutes. And the questions are, what are the key ingredients for a happy relationship? And the example you just thought of your current relationship and the things you listed, you can use as input into that and discuss that with your partner. What causes relationships to strain? Consider those. And what are the 3 most important relationships? Or 3 types of key relationships. So those are the 3 things I'd like you to discuss. There's not a lot of time, it's about 3 minutes while one of these songs plays, and when the song finishes, either I'll ring the bell or ask for your attention, and we'll continue from there. So, if you'd like to stand up, find someone to work with, preferably someone you don't know or don't know so well.
It may seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do.
Alright, time up. Time up. Sorry, time up. So, we'll start with the last question first. What are the 3 most important types of relationship, or 3 different levels of relationship? And if you'd like to answer, just raise your hand, share your name, and When I indicate yeah, give the answer. Did you all get onto the third question? Yeah. So what were your thoughts for the three most important relationships?
We said partner and children and in-laws as family second, and work colleagues as third.
Okay. So your partner, family, and then the work colleagues. Brilliant. Thank you for sharing. Partly. Yes.
We came from a slightly broader way of the relationship you're born into, and then relationships you make.
Yeah.
And in the relationships you make, there is the romantic ones and the platonic ones.
Okay. So that third one is an extension of number two.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Thank you. Any other thoughts? Yes.
Friends?
Yeah. And
Or just, we're adding on to it,
Ah.
because we say family and work colleagues.
okay. Brilliant.
We said that all relationships are important in their own way, so we just basically classified probably what people have said is family, friends, and pupils in general.
Fantastic. Yes.
In our group, we shared some of the other thoughts, but we also said guru, if you have a guru, and the other one, looking slightly outside, was wherever you're happy.
Okay. Excellent. So brilliant sharings that have evolved. Yeah. Sorry, Jim.
So one way we say relationship with yourself.
Awesome. So between all of you, you've covered the three that I was after. So the first one is relationship with yourself. And quite right to say. So how you are with yourself, how you talk to yourself, how you think, how you see yourself, and all of those things. So your relationship with yourself. The second one is covering pretty much the rest of what you guys said. It's your relationship with everyone else. Everyone else. And the third one is the one which I would say is relationship with more of a spiritual one. So either your relationship with your guru, or your relationship with the higher power, with whichever one you believe in, or your relationship with your soul in that manner. So that's the three that I was thinking of with this. So relationship with yourself, relationship with everyone else, and then the relationship with the divine or the God or your higher self in that manner. Does that make sense? Brilliant. So, what are the key ingredients for a happy relationship? What are the things that you guys came up with? Or thinking of the person you were thinking of at the beginning activity, what kind of things came up? Key ingredients. Yes?
We said trust. Trust is very important.
Trust. Excellent. Do you want to add any more to that?
We had lots. So, we say trust, respect, and communication, and expectations are understood of yourself. So you understand expectations that from each other.
Fantastic. Thank you. So trust, respect, communication, and expectations. What about the side of the room? What kind of things did you guys have? Key ingredients for a happy relationship. Yes? Fighting has been a key ingredient for a happy relationship. Expand? So, how is that a key ingredient for a happier relationship? Fighting?
You learn from your fights. You can learn the negatives of each other and you grow together.
An opportunity to kiss and make up as well. Okay. But, okay, that's fine. That's not really the one I was after. You're looking for a few more positives. Kids, students?
Mutualism. So you both kind of have an equal say in whatever happens, and whatever you do together.
Okay, yeah. Communication, yeah. Brilliant. Anything else? Yes.
It may be under communication, but not bottling things up, saying it when it needed to say something. If anything's bothering you, say it
Awesome.
before it kind of becomes too big.
Yes. Good. Yes.
When you might be right all the time, but don't say that right? Not expecting it. Validating the other person's opinions.
Yeah, no, that's a good one, and one which I came across with the research, and it might even be one of the Wayne Dyer books I'm reading at the moment, A Spiritual Solution to Every Problem. I think in there it says you can be right or you can be kind, and sometimes it's better to be kind than to be right, and it's just being aware which to choose. So that's great. So you guys are awesome with this stuff. So we have trust as one of the things mentioned, and that's one of the first things I got here, that a relationship really is built on trust, and without trust there is no relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship or a business relationship or any kind of relationship. And sometimes when we have that relationship, we build up to earn that trust, and the other times we just give that trust immediately. But the thing with either of those options is, if something is done to take that trust away, it's very difficult to rebuild the trust. So trust is foundational. And the picture I've got here is a dollar, US dollars. And in every US dollar and almost all their coins, the words they say is, "In God we trust." So they're putting it right at the top there, "In God we trust." So trust being key element. Values. So this is a bit about mutual understanding that it's a case of having some shared values. So not necessarily having all your values the same as each other or each party in the relationship, but having some which are the same, and not necessarily ranked in the same order. One might have family higher, somebody else might have friends higher, but having the top, 4 or 5 values in common in the way of the ones that you have chosen. Because if you don't have any common values, then there isn't a common ground. So having some values in common, but you don't necessarily want all your values the same. If you've got different values, it allows growth, it allows exploration, it allows learning, it allows variety. So that's one aspect. We had communication come through a lot, and this is, again, fundamental and key. And it's talking, it's listening, and it's understanding. And all of those, I mean in the deepest sense. So talking, when you're talking, really just being there and talking with whoever you're talking with. And if you're listening, giving them the full presence and just to be able to really listen to what's been shared and have that mindful awareness of what's been shared and what the energy is and what the emotions are. And to understand, to really understand what the other person is saying or the other party is saying. And then with those, it allows a better, with understanding, it allows better communication and choices. The other is thinking win-win. And this is again from Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. If you go into a relationship with that mentality of win-win, that we're in this relationship and both parties, to win from the relationship, and not this idea of compromise or one party giving up, that equal aspect coming through, that's the thinking of win-win. So it's not the case of one party giving up and then thinking, okay, I gave up this time, so next time the other person needs to give up. It's finding that solution, let's find a solution which works for both of us, a consensus, which is maybe even choosing to do something which neither of us had chosen initially, but that we can both be happy with. So that's the idea of win-win, coming in with that attitude. And many times, whether it's business relationships or partner relationships or married relationships, the win-win isn't there. It's a win-lose kind of mentality going in. That I've got to win, then that means the other person needs to lose. And that's, a recipe for disaster, or can be. It's bringing out the best in each other. So that's another key ingredient, for us to bring out the best in each other. It's shared experiences, including challenges. And so it could be happy times and happier moments, but also challenges. And one of them I'll share is my own personal one. So when Hersh and I got married, we went to the Maldives on honeymoon. and we were there. And during that time there, Shah needed an emergency operation. And what we needed to do was go from the island we were on by speedboat to the main island. And remember, this is a time when we didn't have mobile phones. So communication back to our families, whether in London or in Kenya, was not easy. And it wasn't easy to share what was going on or get information, but had to go to the mainland. She needed an emergency operation there, so we stayed there a bit longer than what was initially planned for our holiday. And going through that challenge of being in a foreign place without family support, with a challenging situation, and then a little while later we came back to London, and within a week again, she needed another emergency operation. So within 3 months of us being married, 2 emergency operations. And that, working together and using, in hindsight, some of the things that we've talked about here, and having shared that experience of a challenge and grown through it and worked together, has made us stronger and able to take on more challenges as life throws them. That's one. So it's not just happy moments, it's also challenges which can take part. And it's that sense of feeling loved, valued, cared for, supported, and encouraging each other. So these are the ones which I suggest as recipes. So Brené Brown is a fantastic researcher. She's got an awesome TED Talk on vulnerability. Really worth checking out and watching. And in that talk she says, connection is why we are all here. It's what gives us purpose and meaning to our lives. So it's all about connection, whether it's connection to ourselves, to other living souls, or to God. This is a picture from the Science of Happiness, the Greater Good Science Center, one of the organizations I trained with. And right here, you can see connection, and you can see trust, and you can see community. So these are, and all of the things on there are the ingredients for happier living, or the greater good. And connection is core there. This is from another organization called Action for Happiness and Museum of Happiness, 2 different organizations which I volunteer with. And Action for Happiness has an acronym, Great Dream, and the R here is about relating. So it's about relationships. So it's core there for Action for Happiness. And for the Museum of Happiness, the acronym spells out Happy World. And here, again, relationships. So relationships are absolutely fundamental and key for our happiness. So some science, and this is from a book called 10 Keys to Happier Living. Anyone recognize who the picture is of? Anyone recognize who the picture is of? It's Robin Williams. One of the most fantastic actors and diverse actors there. And what the science says is, when we feel connected, it's vital. That feeling of being connected is vital to our well-being. It helps deal with loneliness, and it helps alleviate some of mental health. When we're lonely, or when we don't feel connected, we feel lonely, and we can suffer from mental health. And what Robin Williams said, so he was a fantastic actor, Good Will Hunting, Dead Poets Society, Good Morning Vietnam, This Is Doubtfire, to just name a few of some of his classics. So comedies and making people laugh was part of his purpose and mission. But a few years ago, he died, took his own life, suicide, depression and loneliness and so forth. And one of the quotes he's shared, he said, I used to think that the worst thing in life was to end up alone. It's not. The worst thing in life is to end up with people that make you feel alone. It's a really quite a powerful thought there regarding loneliness and the reason to be feeling connected. It gives us a sense of belonging and identity. It helps our well-being. It helps our resilience, our ability to bounce back, it improves our immunity, and what science has shown is that people who have a handful of good quality relationships tend to live longer. And those who had maybe 3 or less, the quality relationships did, basically you need 3 or more good quality relationships for this benefit to really work of living longer. It's that sense of being loving and being loved. It's that when we're connected and we're in relationships, we learn, we grow, we develop, and we also have people who help us either guide us or teach us, whether it's our gurus or our teachers or our partners. But it gives us that opportunity to learn, grow, and develop. It gives us meaning and an opportunity to enjoy life with each other. So that's some of the science behind it. So what are the things which cause a relationship to strain? Any thoughts? Any thoughts on what causes a relationship to strain? Sorry? Disagreeing? Yeah. Arguments? Yeah. Ego? Yeah.
Lack of trust.
Lack of trust? Yeah. Brilliant. So, I'm going to share a video with you, and I want you to really watch this video fully focused, and the video, it's got some key messages in there to consider and take away, and then we'll pick it up after that. We'll just get the lights down and get the video rolling. Oh, sorry, one moment. Do you guys want to come slightly forward to be able to watch it a bit more clearly? Are you comfortable? Sorry, don't have any popcorn today. Okay, yes. Yeah.
We're going to start discussing men's brains, women's brains, and how they're very different from each other. Now, I want to start with men's brains. All right, now men's brains are very unique. Men's brains are made up of little boxes. And we have a box for everything. We've got a box for the car, we've got a box for the money, we've got a box for the job, we've got a box for you, we've got a box for the kids, we've got a box for your mother somewhere in the basement. We got boxes everywhere. And the rule is, the boxes don't touch. When a man discusses a particular subject, we go to that particular box, we pull that box out, we open the box, we discuss only what is in that box, all right? And then we close the box and put it away, being very, very careful not to touch any other boxes. Now, women's brains are very, very different from men's brains. Women's brains are made up of a big ball of wire. And everything is connected to everything. The money's connected to the car, and the car's connected to your job, and your kids are connected to your mother, and everything's connected to everything. It's like... It's like the internet superhighway. Okay? And it's all driven by energy that we call emotion. It's just, It's one of the reasons why women tend to remember everything. Because if you take an event and you connect it to an emotion, it burns in your memory and you can remember it forever. The same thing happens for men. It just doesn't happen very often because, quite frankly, we don't care. Women tend to care about everything. And she just loves it. Okay? Now, men, we have a box in our brain that most women are not aware of. This particular box has nothing in it. In fact, we call it the nothing box. And of all the boxes a man has in his brain, the nothing box is our favorite box. If a man has a chance, he'll go to his nothing box every time. That's why a man can do something seemingly completely brain dead for hours on end. You know, like fishing. Now, they've actually measured this. The University of Pennsylvania a couple of years ago did a study and discovered that men have the ability to think about absolutely nothing and still breathe. You know, they connected all the wires and stuff like that, watched the brain activity, and all of a sudden, I think he's dead! Huh? Women can't do it! They can't do it! Their minds never stop! And they don't understand the nothing box! And it drives them crazy! Because nothing drives a woman more crazy or makes her feel more nothing!
Enjoy that book trip? Any of you seen it before?
Yes.
Every day.
Okay. So, some takeaways to consider on that. So I'm not necessarily sure if it's fully men are wired differently and women are wired differently, but I think there's some element of truth to that. But the real message I want you to take away from this is, irrespective of the gender of the other person in the partnership, just to be aware that the way we see the world and the way the other person sees the world can be different. And what we might consider to be important, the other person may not. And if we have that awareness and that understanding, it can help reduce some of the conflicts and arguments and behaviors that can occur when we have that mismatch. So that's really the key message to take away from there, that there are differences there, and for us to be aware of those in that manner. So again, what causes a relationship strain? And you guys shared a few things earlier. So it's that aspect of the trust being gone or being disloyal is one aspect which causes a relationship strain. As I mentioned, trust gone. Not listening, or when you feel not listened to. Every human being has that sense of wanting to be heard. When you're with someone, they may not want advice, but they just want to be heard. And that gives them that sense of existence. So when you get that sense that someone's not listening, you feel disconnected. Another thing that causes relationships to strain is not spending quality time together. Not quantity, but quality. And having those shared moments or that quality time together. How many of you have had that experience where either a childhood friend or an old work colleague or a uni friend. You haven't met for years, and you meet up, and you just pick up like you haven't, like it was just yesterday you were together. Yeah? And that's because of that foundation of the shared moments, the shared shared moments, shared values, shared experiences, those aspects. And that quality time that you did have and connecting back into that. When we're in a relationship, and this is more pertinent to the romantic relationships or husband and wife or parent and child, and those where we're with that person every day, we've got to work harder to make sure we keep that quality time and that understanding and awareness there, and not take things for granted or not to lose the connection. Yeah, fewer shared relationships, experiences, and expectations, which was shared. So, mismatch in expectations, or having expectations, and those expectations not being met by one party or the other is there. And the list, can go on. Picture of a sword there, and the reason that just put a sword there is, a sword is a weapon you can use to hurt and harm. Same thing, if you take the S and put it on the end and spell words, with our words we can cause harm and we can cause pain, we can cause hurt. And that's something we can have control over, the words and the way we speak and what we say. What do you notice about this? Sorry?
Why?
Yeah, what about it? Okay. Anyone else? Anything else?
Use missing.
What about it?
A letter's missing.
Is it missing? Okay, yeah. Anything else? Okay. So, two things I wanted to bring through with this slide. One is, I asked what you notice, and what we focus on is what's wrong with this, or what's different. And so the letter I was different, so we focused on that, and the U was missing, we focused on that. But we don't step back and think, there's 25 perfectly good letters there that we can work with. 25 perfectly good letters. We're wired in this society, with the media, with the news, to have a negative bias, to look at things in a negative manner. And the reason I highlighted the I is, and the U, is we're so often focused on the I, ourselves, and we miss the you, the other person in the relationship. Or the you is incorrect, and it's not placed, or it's missing. And it's, that's because we're so focused on the I. We turn that around, we focus on the you, on the other person, or the other partner, and things can change. And it's shifting this negative bias. So there's a researcher by the name of John Gottman, happiness researcher, and he studied relationships for 40 years. And if he's shown a 5-minute clip of a couple and their interactions, with a 91% accuracy, he can predict in a few years if that couple is going to be together or not. 91% accuracy just by watching a 5-minute clip and the interactions between the couples. And what he looks for is the ratio of positive interactions to negative. Those who had 5 positives to 1 negative stayed together. Those who had less, and often it was 0.8 to 1, so more of hardly any positive to negative, he predicted this, these guys weren't going to be together after 2 years. So for every negative interaction we have, or every negative thing we say to someone in a relationship, we need to make sure we've got 5 positives going on to counteract. So that was the research from there. And this brings me on to something from Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly People. And it's the idea of an emotional bank account or a relational bank account. So when we have a bank account, we can make deposits and we can make withdrawals from that bank account, just like any other account. The The problem is, if we haven't put enough deposits in and we're making big withdrawals, we're quickly in overdraft, and that's going to hurt. So the key here is we need to make deposits into the relationship. We need to make deposits into that account before we do withdrawals. And again, that 5-to-1 ratio comes to mind, putting more deposits in, then withdrawals. And one deposit does not equal one withdrawal. A withdrawal could be a break of a promise of not meeting someone at a particular time, and that could be quite devastating compared to meeting them on time once. So they're not equal. The deposits and the withdrawals aren't equal. It's the other thing to know. And what we need to do is focus on putting more deposits into our relationship, and that's by keeping promises, doing small acts of kindness, being loyal, listening, saying you're sorry, and setting clear expectations. And the withdrawals are, the opposites of that. Breaking promises, keeping to yourself, and so forth. There's a real lovely quote I'd like you to share about issues. And what this quote is, it's from a chap called Dave Radcliffe, a co-founder of a company called Woodstein. And this one's, I think, a really quite nice one to think about and take away. So, don't wash the dish because it is dirty. Don't wash the dish because someone told you to. Wash the dish because you love the person that will use it next. So quite a nice one next time we're washing dishes or loading up the dishwasher. So don't wash the dish because it's dirty. Don't wash the dish because someone told you to. Wash the dish because you love the person who's going to use it next. Again, dipping into the 7 habits. The 7 habits is fantastic. It's a journey from dependence to independence to interdependence. And the first 3 habits are focused on yourself, so improving yourself and what they call private victory, and working on that on yourself. The next 3 habits are the public victory ones. This is all to do with relationships, how you work and interact with other people. And again, these habits are think win-win. So this is going back to what we were saying earlier. This is what you want. This is what the other person wants. And what you want to do is find that area and find a solution which overlaps with what you want and what the other person wants, which is the win-win space. And that's what we want to think about and work with all our relationships. The next one is the idea of synergy. So this is where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So it's that idea where 1 + 1 does not equal 2. It could be 3, 4, 5, or 6. When you have a plank of wood and you put it across 2 chairs and put a weight on it, it can take a certain amount of weight, but then it will snap as you add more weight. If you put another plank of wood on top of that first plank, it can take a lot more weight, and it can take more weight than what the individual 2 planks would be able to do. And that's the idea of synergy, where the 2 things together, collaborating, working together, cooperating, synergizing, produce a result which is far in excess of what there would be individually. And really, if you think about it, we're all here for the synergy of our parents. 1 + 1 make 3. The last one is seek first to understand, then to be understood. So this is about whether, when you're having a conversation, when you're having an argument, when you're having a conflict, when you're having a negotiation, at any time something's going on, seek first to understand, to really listen and understand where that other person is coming from. All too often we're ready to interrupt. We're ready to give advice, we're ready to chip in, we're ready to say our point of view and not really listen to what the other person said. But if we first listen, seek first to understand and see where they're coming from, see what they're feeling, really understand that, then we're in a position where they are in a position to hear what we have to say. So it's a real powerful one. So think win-win, synergy, and seek first to understand, then to be understood. happy chemicals. So there's a few of them. There's dopamine, there's oxytocin, there's serotonin, and then there's endorphins. Many of these you would have heard of. The one I want you to focus on today is this one, oxytocin. This is the bonding, connection chemical. It's the one which builds trust. It's the one which regulates various parts of our body, including the heart, the arteries, the vagus nerve. When it's low, where there's low trust, there's low social interaction, weakness, fear, anxiety. The things which we can do to help boost it are acts of kindness, compassion, touch, connection, hugs, gifts, and gratitude. This is the chemical which is released when a mother is given birth to a baby, and to give her that sense of bonding to that baby. It's oxytocin. It's in there with all of us, released when we have that sense of connection with people. And it's one which, through these activities here, we can be topping up and pumping into our systems. So, this is from Action from Happiness. This month, they've got a calendar which is on friendliness. So each day there's a different happiness activity for you to do if you choose to take part. What's the date today? What's it say for the 14th? Tell a loved one why they are so special to you. So remember that exercise right at the beginning where I told you to think of a current relationship you have, or a friendship, and to think of who that's with, and list 3 things that makes that relationship great. Now it's time for action. Take your phones out. Text message, WhatsApp message, email. Send a message to that person. So here, put their name in. You matter in my life. I value our friendship, our relationship. It's great because. List the 3 things you thought of. Love, if you're up for it. Put your name there. Send the message. And if you don't want to send it to that person, my number's there at the bottom. You can send it to. But really, take the opportunity now of that person you thought of right at the beginning of who you have a current great relationship with, and take this, put it into action. Otherwise today is just a talk, and it's just a talk in there. We've had a good talk, we've gone home. It's time to take action, guys. Get your phone out, send the message. WhatsApp, text, email. If you're really brave, I'll give you a couple of minutes if you want to make a call.
If you feel like happiness is the truth, because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is for you, because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do, because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof, because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel.
It's one which does take courage. And we put ourselves in a vulnerable place. But again, if you watch the Brené Brown video on vulnerability, it takes courage. And the word courage comes from her, which means heart. So it's an action of the heart when we take courage. And really, take the opportunity where you've been given an action for today, from Action from Happiness. From this workshop, you just send that one quick message and create that sense of connection stronger. Everyone done? Yeah? Brilliant. Okay. So this is a $64,000 question. How do you know she or he is the one? Any thoughts, anyone? Rusha, is your hand going up? Yeah? How would you know if she or he was the one?
No idea.
How do you think your parents knew he or she was the one?
Mom?
Okay, and this is going on dangerous territory. No, actually, I'm not going to go there. No. So, how do you know he or she is the one? What are the things, what are the aspects? One thing that you can share, was your hand doing that? Oh, you look.
If you compliment each other.
Yeah, brilliant, thank you. Anything else? Yeah?
Because he makes me a better person.
Brilliant, thank you. Lovely. One last one before I share. Yes.
Because you can't imagine life without them.
Beautiful. I need to drink some water before. Okay. So, that quote that I mentioned about the dirty dish, same chap has answered this question, which I think was such a lovely question and really encapsulates a lot of what we've shared today. And again, his name's Dave Radkava. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and just listen to the message, or listen to this answer. Just really, close your eyes, really connect, and just really listen as best you can. So he says, I don't believe in the one, in the soulmate sense. I do believe there are partners out there that will bring us greatness now and in the future, and in turn, it will bring us immense pleasure to bring greatness to them. By greatness, I mean satisfaction, fulfillment, and growth in every sense of each word. You will be both a supporter and a mentor to each other. You are aligned on values you are passionate about. You will challenge each other's views and comfort each other when no one else can. Most importantly, you respect each other enough to listen, and you care enough to understand. When you realize you are the best versions of the people you wish to be when you are around each other, you will know you never want to leave each other's sides. Don't be afraid to fall in love. You can open your eyes. Quite beautiful that, wasn't it? I think a lot of messages there, resonate and inspire and remind us. All right. Any questions so far? Okay. So today we've looked at relationships. We've particularly more looked at relationships between two people. So the second one, we haven't looked at so much our relationship to ourselves, and we haven't looked at the relationship to the divine or to the higher being at all. With our next session on 28th of Feb, so 2 weeks' time, next week it's half term, what we will do is we'll explore a little bit more on the emotional bank account, but in particular there is a book out there and some concepts called 5 Love Languages. It's not one which I've read, but I've read about it and understood some of the concepts, so that's one which we'll dive into and we'll share. And also share a little bit more on the third one of the connection to the higher self, or to the divine. And then with that, it's that idea of the guru-student relationship, or the individual with God, or with divinity, or with the infinite intelligence, or the higher, something higher than us, or above us, as we each like to believe it. And with that, one of the things that I'd really like to share is, how many of you have heard of the 40 Rules of Love? Okay, that's one of the books I've got here, the 40 Rules of Love, by an author called Shah. These 40 rules were written many years ago, and what Elif has done is put it into a story. And it's a story of, a modern day story of a lady in the USA who's a bit dissatisfied with her life and makes some changes. And she ends up reading manuscript or a book that's about to be written. And this book is the story of how Rumi became Rumi. So Rumi, the Sufi poet, how he became Rumi, and how he shifted from knowing God here to knowing God here. And how he went from scholarly to being, from being scholarly to having that experience of divinity. And how the person that helped him shift along that path, showed him that path, was a dervish, another Sufi, a mystic Sufi by the name of Shams. So it's a relationship of Rumi and Shams, and how Rumi became Rumi and got to know God. So it's a beautiful story, and within there, Shams teaches Rumi the 40 rules of love. And these rules are universal rules, which from our Jain perspective or Hindu perspective or any other spiritual perspective, we will understand and buy into or adhere to in that sense. Really lovely ones there. So that is on the 28th. As I mentioned, we'll touch upon the 5 love languages. What's your happiness score right now? 0 to 10, and you're allowed to use 7. Anyone 5? Or less? Have to check. 6? 7? 8? 9? 10. Brilliant. So, if you're interested, there's a happiness journal that I use and I sell. It's called the 5-minute journal. The idea is 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening, to do 5 different happiness practices which really help rewire the brain, and help you stay positive and still help you be mindful and help you be happier. That's one tool which I recommend. Another is, if you want a copy of the 40 Rules of Love, either as a gift for yourself, for your relationship with yourself, or a gift for someone else, available either today or in 2 weeks' time. But I really do recommend getting a copy of it, whether from the library or from here, and having a read of it. It's such a beautiful story. And there's aspects in there where the author has written an incident from one person's point of view, and then the next chapter is that same incident being shared from a different person's point of view. And it's one which I really found a book hard to put down, but that's bad. So those two are available. And starting on the 29th, so a day after our last session, there's a 21-day simple living challenge. It's an online one, so you sign up. Each day you get an email in your inbox for 21 days. It might be a story, it might be a video, it might be a quote, or it might be an action for you to do, but something to think about, something to contemplate, and take action if you choose to. And further articles or videos in there. And the idea being, if you're interested in wanting to make a shift or making a change, then 21 days is a good timeline to work with and get something on a regular basis to help create a change or a shift. And that's free. That's the link to sign up on if you would like to. And then if you're interested in any of the work I do, you can go to happylifehabits.co.uk and sign up. And at the end of the 28th event, I'll do a write-up on today's session and the 28th session as a short summary. So this is, you guys have 2 minutes? So I'll share this one quickly. This is another little quote. So this is from the Brahma Kumaris, and it goes, "We seek it here, we seek it there. We look for love everywhere. We expect it to come to us, usually through another person. All our conditioning says it is something that happens to us. The mythology of our fables, legends, and modern-day entertainment industries say it is something we fall into. And yet, real love cannot be acquired, possessed, or accumulated. It cannot be known where we think it comes from outside ourselves. The ultimate paradox is we are love. We are love. Thank you. So, thank you for your participation. Thank you for your engagement and involvement. And thank you for being here. I hope there's a couple of ideas or thoughts or insights that came through which inspire you to take some action or make some changes or try out something new or something different. With any of this stuff, it is that aspect of raising some awareness, having a choice, making a decision, taking action, observing, reflecting, and repeating change things if we wish to. So, no school next week. 28th, we're back in this hall with the follow-on session. So we'll be taking things a bit further. We'll do a little recap, so feel free to invite your family and friends if you wish to that session. And raffle tickets are available for the 21st March Fun Day. So please do make sure you get all of those.